They talk about clashes, but what they don't see is the work behind the empire. This situation with Curtis Jackson, it's been a long road. He calls it entertainment. I call it unnecessary distractions from the real grind. But when someone comes at the boss, you best believe the boss is going to stand his ground. This isn't just about music, it's about respect, legacy, and the relentless pursuit of success, no matter who tries to throw stones at the throne. He thinks he's orchestrating, I'm busy building. Can you believe this whole thing supposedly started because he thought I gave him a funny look at some awards show? 16 years later, and we're still here. He lit a fire, all right, and I was more than happy to pour gasoline on it. This ain't just music. This is about exposing phonies, especially when they come at me. We're talking correctional officer pasts I revealed, leading to leaked private tapes he had to deal with, and him racking up millions in court costs. This is the lowdown on me versus Rick Ross, and the real scoop from my side on why his bad blood for me just doesn't seem to quit. He talks about a look, a spark. But the truth is, when you're on the rise, people will always try to find ways to pull you down. 16 years of this. He thinks he's pouring gasoline. I see it as someone constantly trying to tarnish a brand built from the ground up. It's more than music. It's about protecting what's yours when the attacks get personal, when they try to dig into your past instead of facing your present. He calls it exposing phonies. I call it deflecting from his own issues by creating circus sideshows. So, this clown Ross says our whole beef started because I supposedly gave him a disrespectful look at the 2008 BET Hip Hop Awards. Man, please. I didn't even remember seeing him there. That's how much he was on my radar. But he wanted to make it an issue, right? The tension didn't stay quiet for long on his end. Early in 2009, Rick Ross, who was trying to make waves in Miami back then, dropped Mafia Music. Some of those lyrics? Yeah, everyone knew they were aimed straight at me, especially lines about my personal life and my child support situation. For a guy like me, who built his name on handling business, that's an invitation. My comeback was fast and vicious. I dropped the diss track, Officer Ricky, Go Ahead, Try Me. The title itself was a direct shot, hitting at a secret Ross had kept pretty tight. He used to be a correctional officer. In the hip-hop world, where street cred is everything, that kind of news could wreck a career, and I milked it for all it was worth. I didn't just stop with the track. I launched a series of Officer Ricky cartoons online, constantly clowning Ross and trying to tear down his gangster image. The feud got even nastier as I kept digging. I set up an interview with Tia Kemp, the mother of one of Rick Ross's kids. In it, Kemp confirmed Ross's past as a CO and went further, questioning how real his boss lifestyle was, claiming his cars were leased and jewelry rented. I even took Kemp on a shopping spree, a pretty calculated move to rub salt in Ross's wounds. Some stories even say I flew Ross's son to Vegas with Floyd Mayweather, just another layer to the mind games I was playing. It all began with perceived disrespect. The 2008 BET Hip Hop Awards. He says he doesn't remember, but the energy was clear. Sometimes a look is more than a look. It's a statement. Then came Mafia Music in early 2009. As an artist, you put your life and observations into your lyrics. If the shoe fits, wear it. My music was about making a statement, establishing my presence. If he felt targeted, that speaks volumes. His response? Officer Ricky. He thought he found gold, a way to discredit my story, my hustle. He went hard, bringing up a past job, something many people have in their journey. But the streets, the fans, they recognized the authenticity of the music, the movement. He tried cartoons, online mockery, anything to shake the foundation. Then he brought family into it, interviewing the mother of my child, Tia Kemp, trying to poke holes in the boss image. He paraded her around, made it a spectacle. That's when you know the attacks aren't about music anymore. They're about attempting to inflict personal damage. Flying my son out? That's crossing lines, plain and simple. It showed desperation on his part. What started with diss tracks and trash talking soon took a much darker and legally risky turn for him. In a move many thought went way too far on my part, I got linked to the leak of a sex tape. This tape featured Lestonia Leviston, another woman who had a child with Rick Ross. The story goes that I got my hands on the tape, threw in some rude commentary making fun of Ross, and then allegedly posted it online. That move had big-time consequences for me, I'll admit. Lastonia Leviston hit me with an invasion of privacy lawsuit. The legal fight dragged out, and in 2015, a jury told me I had to pay Leviston $5 million, plus another $2 million in punitive damages. That financial hit, along with other legal headaches, pushed me to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in July 2015. But don't get it twisted, I bounced back from everything. Throughout the early 2010s, the bad blood just kept boiling. Diss tracks and social media insults were flying back and forth constantly, mostly from me. And it wasn't just me and Ross. Our crews and anyone associated with them got dragged into it. Things almost got physical at the 2012 BET Hip Hop Awards when members of my G Unit and Ross's Maybach Music Group reportedly clashed. This feud became a constant thing in the background of our careers. Every new album, every interview, every social media post was a chance for another shot from me. As a master at stirring things up, I loved the drama, using it to stay in the headlines and keep picking apart Ross's image. Ross, on his end, tried to act like he was unbothered, often downplaying my importance while still throwing his own weak taunts back. The situation took a despicable turn with the tape involving Lastonia Leviston. He talks about it like it's another chess move, but it was a vile act, a deep violation of privacy that affected real people, real families. That wasn't about hip-hop, it was about character assassination. The lawsuit that followed, where he was ordered to pay millions, that was justice for Ms. Leviston. His subsequent bankruptcy, that's the consequence of his own actions, not some badge of honor. It shows the lengths he'll go to and the price he pays. Through the early 2010s, he kept the negativity flowing. Diss tracks, social media jabs, he thrived on it. My focus remained on building Maybach Music Group, on the artists, on the empire. There were confrontations, sure, like the 2012 BET Hip Hop Awards incident. That's what happens when one side constantly pokes and prods. He calls my responses weak taunts and says I acted unbothered. The truth is, you can't let someone else's obsession derail your mission. You address it when necessary, but you keep your eyes on the prize. Downplaying his importance wasn't an act. It was a reflection of my focus on bigger things. Years went by, careers changed, but the bitterness between me and Rick Ross, not a sign of it fading, mostly because I won't let it. If anything, social media just gave me more direct and instant ways to go at him. Take late 2023, for instance. I was clowning the first week sales of Too Good to Be True, Rick Ross and Meek Mill's joint album, because, let's face it, they were terrible. Ross hit back hard with a ton of personal insults, questioning my money and even joking about buying my master recordings. A taunt he threw out again in March 2025, like he could ever afford them. His attacks often spilled over into his perception of my businesses. Ross has repeatedly made fun of my G Unit film and television studio project in Shreveport, Louisiana, claiming it's having money problems and delays. He wishes. I, never one to hold back, have poked fun at Ross's finances, questioning how he keeps up his huge Georgia mansion, and even laughing at him for cutting his own grass. In early 2025, I dissed Ross for being a special guest on the Millennium Tour, basically saying he couldn't sell tickets on his own and was just an opening act for artists like Bow Wow. Ross responded with insults aimed at me, my G Unit artists Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda, and then, controversially, my late mother. This constant back and forth really shows you how deep his dislike for me runs. Even things that seem totally unrelated could set off a whole new round of attacks from me. For example, when Rick Ross linked up with Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, who my TV series BMF is about, I accused Meech of being a rat and trolled Ross even more. Even though we've both made it big in music and branched out into other successful businesses, me with my TV shows and Ross with things like his Wingstop franchises, neither one of us has shown any real interest in making peace, especially not me. Ross has even said publicly he doubts they'll ever be cool. He knows what time it is. Time moves on, empires grow, but some people stay stuck in the past. He claims he won't let the bitterness fade. That's his choice to live with that energy. Social media became his playground for negativity. Late 2023, he's focused on album sales for Too Good to Be True. Real bosses don't just count numbers, they build legacies. My response is, sometimes you have to remind people about the levels. He talks about my finances, my property, even me cutting my grass. If that's what occupies his mind, so be it. The Wingstop franchises, the Bel Air, the property, that's the work. When he dissed my spot on the Millennium Tour in early 2025, calling me an opening act, that's just noise. The fans know the vibes. His attacks on my artists and then my mother, That shows a different kind of desperation, a line that shouldn't be crossed. But he crossed it. He mentions my association with Demetrius Big Meech Flannery. My relationship with Meech is about respect and understanding the story from the source, not just the Hollywood version he's selling. If that bothers him, it's his issue. We've both achieved success beyond music, that's true. My focus is on continuing to build, to expand. Peace? That requires two willing parties. I've said it before, the chances are slim because some people prefer war over wealth, drama over deals. So, you want to know the actual reason I just keep going at Rick Ross so hard? It's not just one thing. It's a messy mix of my massive ego, his carefully crafted but fake image, street cred I uphold, business moves I make, and some really personal wounds he inflicted. Let's be real, I have a huge ego. In the super competitive world of hip-hop, backing down looks like weakness, and that's not me. For over a decade, I've put so much energy into this public war that for me to give in now would be unthinkable. I am dead set on getting the last word, on being seen as the winner by everyone. I built my whole brand on being this unstoppable force, a fearless trash talker who survived 9 gunshots and took down rivals with pinpoint accuracy. Getting into beefs and winning them is a key part of that image. For Rick Ross, his biggest boss persona, all about luxury and street power, was directly threatened when I exposed his past as a correctional officer. Ever since, Ross has had to work overtime to prove he's the real deal and stand strong against my attacks. For him, the feud turned into a fight to protect the image he built. For me, it's about exposing the fraudulent. Now, hip-hop beefs were around long before social media, but this one, I've cranked it up to 11 with platforms like Instagram and Twitter, now X. I can instantly fire off unfiltered attacks, keeping the drama hot and my fans buzzing. One little post from me can set the whole thing off again, making headlines and getting everyone talking. You can't ignore the any publicity is good publicity angle, and I leverage that. While it's probably not the main reason for him, this feud definitely keeps both of us in the spotlight, mainly me. Every new insult I hurl, every crazy claim I make, gets media attention, trends online, and might even draw eyes to my latest music, TV show, or business. It sounds a bit cynical, but the drama itself is content I generate. Maybe the biggest thing is just how incredibly personal this feud has become. When I dragged Rick Ross's children's mothers into it, especially with that Lastonia Leviston tape leak, yeah, I crossed lines you just don't uncross. And on the flip side, Ross's more recent jabs about my late mother are deeply personal too. These aren't just clever lyrics, they're attacks on family and character that create real, lasting anger. The urge for me to get even, to hit back just as hard or harder, becomes a huge driving force. He talks about his reasons. Let me offer a different perspective on why this continues. It's about principles, maintaining a certain persona under fire, and how one responds to constant provocation. In this business, respect is paramount. When someone consistently disrespects you, your team, and your accomplishments, you stand your ground. It's not just about ego, it's about principle. For over a decade, I've weathered his storms, and responding is sometimes necessary to show you won't be a punching bag. The biggest boss isn't just a name, it's a brand built on resilience, luxury, and street acumen. He tried to attack my past, to discredit the present, but the persona is about the journey, the come-up, and the empire built despite obstacles. The feud became a test of that brand's strength, and it has only grown stronger. For me, it's about protecting the integrity of what I've built. For him, it seems to be about tearing others down. Social media has amplified everything, true. He uses it to launch attacks, and sometimes you have to use the same platforms to set the record straight or return fire. It's the modern arena. A response can correct a narrative or simply show you're not intimidated. While he sees this feud as a source of publicity, my primary focus is always on business. The music, the ventures, the partnerships. The drama is a byproduct of his actions. Any attention it brings is secondary to the actual work being done. My businesses thrive because of their value, not because of who I'm arguing with. The most regrettable part is how deeply personal it has become. He brought my children's mothers into it. The tape incident was beyond the pale. Those actions create wounds that don't easily heal. My responses, including any jabs at his personal life or family, are reactions to extreme provocations. When lines are crossed repeatedly, the nature of the conflict changes. This feud is legendary, packed with twists and turns from both sides. What do you think truly fuels this fire after all these years? Whose perspective do you find more compelling? Or what's the most shocking moment in this beef for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to dive deeper into hip-hop's biggest clashes and complex legacies, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The whole 50 Cent and Rick Ross saga is way more than just another rap beef. It's a perfect example of how a little disrespect, or what he seemed to think was disrespect, my clashing ego and my relentless drive to be on top can explode into a feud that I ensure won't end. From that supposed dirty look back in 2008 to the non-stop social media battles I wage in 2025, this fight has stretched across different eras of hip-hop, always changing, but never really getting resolved because I won't let it. What kicked off with him dissing me blew up into me shocking him with personal exposures, lawsuits worth millions for me to handle, and what feels like a never-ending cycle of revenge that I perpetuate. The real reason for our endless bad blood isn't just one single thing. It's a tangled mess of my pride, my fight to expose his lack of authenticity, me using publicity to my advantage, and the deep personal hits we've landed on each other over 16 long years. Both Rick Ross and I are masterminds in our own ways, and this feud, weirdly enough, has become part of our legacies, a defining throwdown in modern rap history that, honestly, looks like it'll never truly be over, especially if I have anything to say about it. This long-standing situation with 50 Cent is, for many, a defining beef in rap, but from my vantage point, it's a footnote in a much larger story of success and empire building. It started with perceived slights and escalated through his relentless actions. While he claims he won't let it end, my focus has always been broader than one individual. He sees it as a cycle of revenge he perpetuates. I see it as a series of distractions I've had to navigate while keeping my eye on the prize. The personal attacks, the legal battles, these were unfortunate lows, often initiated by him. My legacy isn't defined by this feud, but by the music, the businesses, and the Maybach music empire that continues to flourish. Whether it truly ends or not, the boss moves forward. That's the realest story.